I'm glad you're in your office with the rich mahogany and the smell of fancy books.
Oh yeah, it smells so fancy in here. I had to close the door because the people outside were doing, I don't know what the hell they're doing, but they got something going on right below us. All you can hear is them talking.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us today. We're going to get started in just a minute, give people time to get in from the waiting room. All right, Kristin, if you want to go ahead and kick things off, I'm sure we'll get a few more people joining, but we're at the top of the hour.
All right, thank you. All right, let's get this going. Welcome everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today for United by Winter, moving the winter community forward at a very timely start of Q4 2020. This is one of two town halls this week. And in this town hall, Nick Sargent and I will have a discussion about the state of our businesses going into the 2020-2021 winter sports season. And I know to say that we've experienced significant change in the winter outdoor industry in the past 8+ months is the understatement of the century. We've obviously seen a pandemic, a recession. We've seen a lot of proof of concept of climate change and the rate with which that is expanding in our lives, social and political unrest, consolidation in our industry, new consumers and new consumer behavior, new technologies and approaches in operating our business. All of this in the span of 8 months, all of it leading us right into the 2021 winter sports season. Well, I think we can easily say we're at the precipice of a season like we'll never have seen before. We're also at the precipice of a new era in our businesses, which is exactly what we're here to address today. And that demands different leadership from SIA. And we're here to learn all about that from Nick today, and also inspire you to continue to evolve in your own business, because progress simply cannot happen without that evolution. So looking at the months from last March to the coming March, every month has been and will continue to be new and different for us. So will not be a blueprint. We will be creating as we go together. And as we prepare ourselves to evolve so that we can help you, we see that the constant unpredictable change is all around us. And really all we can do is continue to prepare for that, the unpredictability of it. So we're here to accomplish a couple things today. We're going to take stock of our experience in 2020 as a community, united by winter sports. So I'll be guiding Nick through a conversation on that front. He will be sharing the most impactful learnings gained through what we've lived through already in 2020 and how we will be able to future pace what we're about to live through leading into this season. And also we're going to chart our way forward together. I want to invite you to put some questions, if you have them, into the chat box, which I know you're used to by now, having attended probably a lot of these town halls that SIA has been producing for us weekly throughout this very difficult time in 2020. So you'll probably know what to do. And if we don't have time to get to those, we will definitely be addressing your questions in follow-up materials. I also just want to say what you're about to hear today, you'll learn some new things, and you get to also experience more deeper understanding of some new initiatives that you've been seeing from SIA in the few most recent weeks. So Nick and his team at SIA, along with their board of directors, have a lot of new things to share and a lot of things that are going to help continue with the support that SIA is bringing, an up-level level of support that we're bringing to you going into this coming winter season. So with that, I would love to get into the questions here with you, Nick. Why don't we just start with the fact? I mean, you were hired about 5 years ago to really create change. You've now been in the chair for about that time. Coming from your background at Burton and Adidas Salomon, you assembled a team and took decisive steps right out of the gate because you knew that SIA had to evolve because the industry and the consumer were evolving. And I think our membership has seen, whether we love or hate change, we have seen change, and it's been consistent change. This year has really shown that for sure. So I'd love for you to kick us off today with really kind of a broader view of the SIA mission now that we're going into our most pivotal season ever, the first full winter season during a pandemic, recession, and climate change and incredible political and social unrest. So let's start there from the top.
That's a lot. That's a lot to digest, and I hope we have enough time. But for certain, we are headed into some uncharted waters. But the resilience of this industry and the resilience of the organizations in the industry have proven that they can get through this. So to back up a little bit, it's hard to believe I've been in this chair for 5 years. I don't think I envisioned a full 5 years 5 years ago, but it's been a really fun adventure and a ride, and I couldn't be more pleased with what we've done. But yeah, so I was hired by the SIA board of directors to create change and administer change and help lead the industry into the future. I quickly realized once I got into this chair that there were a number of areas that we could change quickly to set ourselves up for the future. And one of those changes out of the box was really looking at the trade show and seeing if that was sustainable, if that was a model that was going to lead us into the future. And clearly, 3 years later, having sold that show, that was the right move to make. I would be sweating big bullets right now if we still own that show, knowing what we're about to go into. But beyond that, we had to make some very quick changes, and quick was rebuilding this organization and hiring a very nimble team that could get the work done, share the vision that not only the board had, but myself and staff has. And we knew at some point there was going to be some type of catastrophic event within our industry. Never did we think it was going to be something like COVID. We thought it was going to be more retail based or more manufacturer based. But nevertheless, we knew we had to create an organization that could change, be nimble, and then adaptable for us to change. So, fast forward from 5 years ago, or take 6 months rewind, and put ourselves back in March. We knew quickly something significant was going to come of COVID, and we had to change and change the organization, change how we were going to lead and what we were going to deliver back to our members. I can tell you now, having survived, those 6 months, but also adding on different elements. Remember, we were deep into the tariff conversation at that time. COVID hit, then George Floyd hit. We've had a crazy summer, but I can tell you that the SI team is more dedicated than ever to our mission and the members. And as much as the mandate was for us to create change, the mission has not changed. We are still leading, and we are still supporting and guiding our members to evolve their business every day. We had to really and more succinctly, we had to shift our strategy during COVID to sharpen our focus on our 6 key pillars. We've shifted in the last 5 years, a couple of degrees left or right on these pillars. But we are now really focused on the pillars and what they look like moving forward. So consumer, insights, education, advocacy, inclusion, and participation. Those are the 6 pillars that we are focusing on. Those are the pillars that are going to drive our member value, and our entire team is focused on these pillars and delivering the best possible education back to the membership.
I think that without a doubt, we can see that the change that you and the team have put in place over the past 5 years has really acted as a springboard for your organization to change precipitously through this year. So for that, I think the work that you've done prior to COVID is very much appreciated. And again, sometimes it's difficult, but it's great that the tracks were laid. So let's get on to looking ahead. And everybody, I think, would agree that there's a lot of hope and optimism out there that we might see a strong, continual, I think that consumer demand for outdoor sports and recreation and being outdoors on the level that they feel they want to be. We're really hoping that's going to translate to winter, but we truly don't know what's on our horizon. I mean, our winter sports business really came out of a very challenging March earlier this year. And today we're heading into what will be the most challenging winter we'll see to date, undoubtedly. But I know that you and the team at SIA constantly talk about with adversity, there's opportunities. So I wanted to ask what SIA is doing to prepare the membership to move into the winter season with that lens.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, we're hitting on so much information here in key topics, but as I mentioned before, we've had to evolve, we had to be nimble, we had to really take a strong look at what SIA was doing, what the industry was doing, and move quickly. We had to come up with opportunities for our members and a way to help our members adapt and innovate as a means to move forward. And that doesn't mean just this season, that could be next season. It could be last month, could be next month. There are so many different members that are moving at different speeds. So we have to react accordingly. We had to really help and evolve the tools within the education and the insights, not only historically, but in real time as we are moving forward. Out of the gate, we saw there's a huge demand for us to engage all of the different resources that were getting thrown at COVID back in March and in April. We created a hub and we aggregated every resource that we could find as a one-stop shop for our members to understand what the threat was, what the opportunity was, and where the help was going to come from. SBA loan, PPP, PPE opportunities. There are so many different opportunities then, and we're still sharing those opportunities with our members as we come into fall. We are also engaged in a very lengthy webinar and town hall series that we started back in March as quickly as we could mobilize. We're going to continue to drive that, whether it's through inclusion, whether it's through climate, whether it's through COVID, whether it's through the research and data that we have, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But we really had to show firsthand how suppliers and retailers could respond. We had to look at those key areas of education and really take a different approach. We had to have bite-sized nuggets of information. We had to have webinars. We had to record everything. We had to have audible so people could come back and listen to it, not just once, twice, 3 times, but also come back and know where they could find all of this information. And again, we said this before, but all this was happening in real time and things were changing. So addressing those key issues through these town halls and these weekly assessments, we're really giving our members a great foundation, some solid footing to help them. But beyond that, we also had to look at some of the new technologies, business technologies and solutions that were being offered. And everyone has had to make some decisions this spring and summer on this ongoing focus on digital marketing, best practices, how to align with specialty, how to operate without a trade show. We had to continue with our advocacy through launching new programming. If it wasn't following up on tariffs, it was looking at other areas of climate. We're just about to launch a new robust climate platform aimed at reducing industry carbon emissions. All of these things take time, and our team has been working on both ends of the candle to deliver these platforms and this education back. And then beyond that, we're also driving the social impact and inclusion conversation with the industry, and we'll continue to do so. all of these efforts, all of this education, it all ties into the path forward. And we need to start looking at the sustainable recovery of our industry for us to go into this next quarter, the next year, and then the following year.
There's so many facets to this. I mean, if we were looking at a year ago at this time, sure, you would have your 6 pillars, of course, because they've been in place, but I don't think any of us thought that you would be dropping the clutch on every single one of them through what we've been living through here. And you literally have created such an incredible body of work for us to tether to. So
well,
one of the things,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was going to say, one of the things that we're all hoping to hear from you, because we know you talk to a lot of people, you look at things, I think, from a very different purview. And I'm hoping that you can share with us how you might see your membership being able to diversify the offerings that we bring to the consumer. The consumer experience obviously is going to be changing. And as we said, there's opportunity and also challenge in that. So we'd love for you to share your take on a few of the bright spots that you see emerging for this winter.
Yeah, sure. The end consumer is ideally who we speak to, who we work for, and who we want in the fold. Before we get to that, I was just going to say that all the stuff that we've been doing, what's ironically yesterday we were talking about it when we were practicing, and it doesn't really seem like we've done all that much day to day, but when we stop, reflect, it's so much. And again, that goes back to the opportunity that's in front of us. And So, moving forward, we've been doing a lot of surveying. We've been polling our members. We have a new consumer database that we've been surveying as well, and everything is pointed to. Everyone is excited to get outdoors. They're very excited that winter is our next favorite season coming up, and that all lends itself to the demand. The demand is there. We saw it during the summer. Specifically, we saw it in the spring. We had to eat a little crow. As much as we love to promote winter sports, we had to ask everyone, stay inside, take a break, let us get through this. But we're beyond that. But we still have to practice diligence. We have to practice social distancing, and we have to be smart how we participate coming out of fall and into winter. But a few things that we are expecting, and these are common remarks here, and we've seen this, and a lot of people have read about this. But we're going to see more people in the backcountry. COVID proved that in the spring and early summer, and on a lot of social feeds that I see, it looks like people are still in the backcountry, getting the high alpine snow. We're going to see more of that, and so you can expect to see that. You can expect to see the excitement that we've seen for the outdoor communities roll into winter. And we're going to see more people participating in off-resort activities, such as cross-country skiing, Nordic skiing, fat tire biking, snowshoeing, winter running, sledding, et cetera, et cetera. Those are great ways that we are going to be able to enjoy winter and really help get through the season, especially with COVID. And so, as we're looking at how we survey, articulate winter participation, we need to be looking at that and defining it more broadly. All of those categories I just mentioned. We can't limit our scope of thinking to just lift access or lift served. That would be doing our industry a disservice. And certainly to this new customer and consumer, we're seeing this demand, and we need to share that information back to the industry as best we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So looking at that too, I mean, I also just want to say, when you look at the consumer, they've been ingrained in the aspirational imagery of the resort, I think, and giving them, the point of entry that it's comfortable for them is really what we're talking about here. Obviously, the resorts are incredibly important, and they drive so much of the visibility of winter sports. And we see this almost as like a gateway drug, if you will, to a whole swath of newcomers who look different and do different things, and we want to have them be welcomed in. our sister industries of outdoor and bike are going through the same thing. And it's like, welcome them in, catch and keep. So that's awesome. And I think it is really an underscore of that's an opportunity that's coming out of this. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen, obviously seasonality wise, but we do know the demand is there. We see it in every report from retail. We see it across the endemic reporting in the trades across the industries too. So as we're looking at this, I'd love to continue with the topic of the end consumer, because I think that's one area that SIA has really doubled down in terms of what's measured is managed, and get to know this end consumer more intimately, because we know what got us to this point pre-COVID is not going to get us to where we want to be after and through this, I guess. So the changes that we've seen personally and in our business and in our society have really reinforced the vigilance we all have to stay with the pulse of our end consumer, our target end consumer. And you are obviously offering a lot in that regard through insights and data and whatnot. So I would love to have you talk about how you're giving us almost like a purview into the consumer ecosystem with some of the things that you're launching and have launched in the past, and how they all will be working together going forward.
Yeah, so this is again, when I took this chair over, and long leading the strategy that we were looking at in a way to deploy different activities and assets back to the membership. One of those findings was consumers, and there's every industry on the planet is speaking direct. With what we see, our own spending and our own family members finding different things that interest them on the computer. I mean, clearly this is the direction that our culture is moving in, and without a doubt, we are seeing value in this direct access to winter outdoor consumers and consumer data. Don't get me wrong, I'm not pushing direct consumer. I'm pushing direct consumer data. We want to know more about that consumer, the when, the where, the how, and when they're shopping. So, a couple steps back, with the guidance and the help of our board of directors, we made a very strategic investment in consumer shows. We believe that the membership needs and will be a must-have for them to understand the new consumer, the insights, the habits, the trends. So we bought the BWE shows back in January. We rebranded that platform Snowbound Festival, and we'll be launching an online Snowbound community later this month as our first step as a way to access that consumer. And the website will be a national destination for winter consumers, winter outdoor consumers. And that will complement a full relaunch, full rebrand of a premium in-person experience next fall. Obviously, we couldn't launch this fall due to COVID. But through the physical show, through the digital platform experience, our membership will gain access to a growing consumer winter outdoor audience directly. And we will be able to push that right back through the supplier, through the manufacturer, back to specialty. That is one of the key features that we'll be doing there. We're also committing to giving our members a best-in-class access to understanding and serving this modern consumer. A lot of our members may have seen just in the last few weeks, we launched first of its kind consumer report, the impacts of COVID-19 on the Snowsports consumer, trends and insights. If you haven't seen it, you really need to do yourself the service and go find it on snowsports.org. It's amazing data and research. Our research team did an amazing job of launching that, and we're not going to stop there. We're going to continue to launch a second consumer survey toward the close of the 2021 season, when we get to know these consumers a little bit more, and we'll have more insights on that evolving consumer. This is also going to be in addition to the NPD retail data, which we've been sharing with our membership as well. And we'll launch that next month in November. So by combining the consumer data with the NPD data, we're going to have a comprehensive offering of winter outdoor consumer data, data that's on the pulse of what's happening during this fall and winter, which we're looking forward to.
I think that everybody's looking forward to that because ultimately everybody seems to have an opinion on the existing data that's been out there. It's definitely useful, but coupling it with ongoing consumer research that's market fluent or community fluent is going to be, I don't think we've ever had anything like that. So I think that's going to be fantastic to have and should give us a way to continue to be nimble, which is what I think SIA is trying to model for its membership going through this crazy year that we're having, challenging year.
All you can do is laugh, right?
Yes.
You got to find some humor.
Yeah. And on that note, as if like navigating through pandemic and recession wasn't enough of a reason to evolve, we're also experiencing, as I said in the introduction, the political, social unrest, the climate change on just Richter scale levels. I mean, everything has really coming at once. I guess when it rains, it truly does pour. And I wanted you to take some time to walk us through some of the key evolution that you've had through the experience of growing your advocacy and inclusion specifically for this question. We'll talk about climate and a few more questions after this. But let's talk about the importance of embracing both of these to be relevant and successful to this new consumer that we're all serving today, all channels.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, inclusion is, not just a buzzword. It's not just a thing of the moment. I mean, this is forever. This is where we need to be as an industry. Another area that we identified a couple of years ago, I repeatedly was getting comments and advice. We need more people in the sport. We need to fill the funnel. Baby boomers are aging out. We were looking at all of this years ago and thinking about different ways to offer new programming to our membership. So, go back to January Snow Show. We made inclusion a priority at that show. Our chair, Wendy Carey, sat down with myself and a few others and said, enough's enough. Enough white guys running this industry. We want equality. We want diversity. We want to put our foot in that game, and we want to do it on solid footing. With that, we were able to start to come up with a plan, start to create a path, start to align ourselves with professionals in this space. As you saw back in July, we launched a series of town halls to really kick this off. But we did that after we had worked with consultants to align us not only on the direction, but introduce us to a vocabulary, and more importantly, create an authenticity that would live with SIA and our industry for generations to come. We didn't want to jump in and just say, we're going to do this because someone told me to do it. This was an initiative that I jumped on immediately, introduced it to our staff and said, we're doing this, and let's get going. And I didn't stop with my staff, and it certainly didn't stop with the board. I invited all the leaders of the A's. I call, NSAA, OIA, PSIA, NSP, and others, and said, I'm going to launch this inclusion training with our board of directors and our executive committee. We have hired a consultant, Dr. Geraldine Davis, to take us through a 6-month inclusion training. I would love for you to join us. And they jumped on quickly. That was a no-brainer. So fortunately, I'm doing this 6-month training, two classes simultaneously, one with the A's and one with our executive committee. And it's been extremely enlightening. It's been an amazing journey for us, and we're really scratching the surface on this as a group. But it's not going to end there. Later this month, we're going to launch an inclusion committee, which will be led by our consultant, Dr. Davis. And it's going to be comprised of a diverse group of people from across the industry, which will help guide and input on the continued commitment to our evolution towards inclusion. So we're looking forward to that as well. And, again, we're doing all of this as a way to grow the winter outdoor industry, and inclusion has to be embedded in this space.
It is. It's an absolute business imperative, but it also enables us to use our businesses and our brands to create positive change. And I think, looking at if our new participants can see it, they can be it is a great first step. And I look forward to learning through what you guys are offering and where you're going with this training. Let's also talk about the business imperative of climate. I'm super curious to hear what your commitment to climate change, how has that evolved? I think it's, you're either about to launch or you just have launched a pretty stout initiative there that I think is going to really enable us to, create some velocity in this in our own businesses. So I'm curious if you could fill us in on that.
Yeah, climate it's nothing new to most of us, but there are still a few outliers out there. I can't stress how important climate is to this industry and to the generations behind us. With the threats that we have on our livelihood, the threats that we have on the snow that our livelihood is dependent on. This is as similar to inclusion as anything I can align it with. We've had to take a couple steps back, and we've spoken to so many people in so many different groups to really find what that footing is, and we had to make a commitment to changing how we operate SIA to put climate change front and center, and commit to using our industry a voice to affect change. Clearly, with all the fires that we've have seen this summer, all of these storms that have rolled up and down the southeast and upwards. Climate change is real and it's happening. We're just about to launch later this week, our Climate United platform, to give our members the tools to create change. This is going to be a platform that'll give you, the member, tools, but also a starting point. So if you want to dip your big toe in, it's a great spot. If you want to engage deeper, we'll direct you to those that have more knowledge and are working in this space to help bring you up to speed. But we really want to reinforce what climate is to the industry. We're going to launch deeper education, more town halls and workshops with actionable items, so you can do your part at whatever pace is comfortable for you. We know that not everyone's going to jump in head first, but again, we have to start somewhere. As I've been told before, it's never too late. But we have to take this starting position and lead by example to get our members to follow.
Well, and I know that you are interviewed by large media entities about what's going on in winter sports, and you also are very dedicated to enabling our entire industry voice to really carry on a national level too, which I think is important to point out. Is the platform that you've launched going to enable us to kind of become part of that too? An easy way for us to have our voice heard through SIA.
Absolutely, and it doesn't stop with SIA. We have a partnership with OIA and NSAA, so we're doing this together in partnership there. We know that our voice is louder together. We've already been to Washington. We've hosted trips. We've met with the appropriate senators and congressmen to get that voice moving. This is an all industry effort, and those that tell me this is someone else's problem, that's the wrong answer. It's all our problem, and we can't do it alone. We need your help. We need your commitment. Those of you who think someone else is going to take care of it, we need your help. We need your support. And if snow is our currency, we have to do everything we can do to protect that.
I totally agree. And I think that the way that you're speaking about this in terms of coming together, every single topic we've talked about today is truly going to call for that level of involvement. So while we do have to mind the shop, if you will, and make sure the lights down and we're paying the bills and payroll, I think becoming part of this larger movement that SIA is really kicking off is more important than ever, because there are just so many initiatives that we can't chase down on our own, that you're making it, I think, more feasible, efficient, and frankly impactful for us to join together with you to make that work. So I think that, as I just mentioned, keeping the lights on and payroll, as I shift nervously, I do want to talk about how SIA is moving to help its membership navigate some of the key ways we've operated our businesses through the season. This is going to be an incredibly different business landscape as we're going into this. So we've obviously talked a lot about a foundation that you've built in your 6 pillars, but let's talk specifically about what you're seeing. As you're talking with all of these people, as you're being interviewed by media, tell us what you're seeing out there and in terms of what this business climate is going to look like for us.
Yeah, so it's I'm fortunate with this position. You get to a front row seat to the entire industry, resort, supplier, manufacturer, retailer, rep, and you get to have a lot of conversation. It's safe to say that the uncertainty that's in front of us is really challenging, concerning, and one that has a lot of people against the ropes. I can fairly say that we don't know what the fall is going to bring our businesses. We can speculate. We can talk amongst each other. We do our best not to rumor, not to spread, but we do our best to be more factually based. But just to be straight up, we don't know, and that's the uncertainty that we're all looking at. I can't tell you it's going to get cold. I can tell you it's going to snow. And Christmas is going to happen, but we don't know what to expect with the buying and selling process, and how that's going to roll out. We're all kind of making plans. We're all looking at different ways to do this, but everything is changing daily. It's almost hard to open the news media and see what's changed every morning. But the one thing that we do know is that we must prepare to operate our businesses regardless. And the demands that we are looking at, again, as I said, we are rolling with the changes as well. But ultimately, it's about preparation and contingency planning. You have to have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. And a lot of those that we're talking to are already operating in contingency. And having those plans is really helping drive them and make them feel comfortable with what's in front of them. And so everything that we've been doing, COVID, DEI, et cetera, that's about preparing our membership for this season. And regardless of what's going to happen, we're here to help prepare you. If you are not contingency planning, I strongly urge, you got to take a couple of days, a week, a month, whatever time you have to invest in that planning. That's the only way you're going to help yourself get through this. Our businesses are going to continue to change each month. That much I can promise you. But as far as how much change one way or another, I'm not sure we can give you that honest answer, as I said at the start.
Right. And I know that as news comes in, obviously you have the Thursday newsletter. We've been receiving that. It's been a lot of information, but I just want to remind everybody there's a lot of research and a lot of time and a lot of hear it here first that goes into that newsletter. And I really encourage you to make sure, if you have developed any kind of banner ad fatigue around it, that now is a good time to re-engage with that. We will be sending out kind of a little bit of a summary of what we did here today with some key links to some recent town halls that I think will be really impactful for people as they are creating these contingency plans in their business. Obviously, with it being budget season right now, I think a lot of us are really grappling with that and learning all about that. But as we're kind of coming to a close here today, and again, I just want to invite, if you do have questions, please feel free to pop them into the chat box. But I'd love for you to just remind us of the opportunity that is in this adversity, because I was on a call with you and your team about I think right after Labor Day, and you were, really leading the troops in terms of okay, we have really been working so hard, as you said, burning the candle on both ends through this entire quote off season. Now our season's about to begin. So when you get here the day after Labor Day, be ready to march, right? And I thought about that so much because your entire membership is in that same place. And I think like as outdoor goes into a different season and bike goes into a maybe more of an off season, if they're going to have those anymore, we are literally being called to step up at a level we never have before. So please remind us as we're doing that and getting ready to continue to pour energy into this, like what are some of the opportunities that you see, and just remind us about why we're doing this and how we're going to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, we are putting out a ton of information, and I apologize to those that we do hear, like, stop emailing me. We wouldn't email you unless we felt it was important. We hear from others, there's too much information. You gotta tone it down. This is that opportunity in life, in history, where you gotta read, you have to absorb, you have to innovate, you have to adapt. And you have to create significant change for your business. So I'm not going to apologize to the membership for sending this information, because it's good information. It's helpful. We're here as a resource. We're not here to bog down your inbox. But this is a time, as I said, this is uncharted territory. We haven't been in a situation like this before. This is not like December rain in Tahoe. This is not like freezing rain in Vermont in February. This may be the most unexpected and unpredictable season this industry has ever seen. And that's why we're doing all this for you. This is what we are here to do. We are your industry's association. We are here to help the industry deal with these really and very real hardships and challenges of these times. If we had a trail map, we could streamline this stuff, but we don't. But beyond all of that, we are here to help inspire and drive this change. And going back to the question, unlike any other time in history, this is the moment to afford change. This is the moment to look at how you can think about the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years of your business. This is an opportunity. And when, people say you get one opportunity in a career, I see this as just that. We need to continue to change how we look at the industry, how we look at the business, how we speak with one another. We need to look at long-term sustainability and success for the industry. Inclusion, climate, best business practices, digital, e-com, specialty. How do you reinforce? Those are the silver linings that we're focused on. Those are the silver linings that you all should be looking at, and we have those tools. And as you said just a couple minutes earlier, Kristin, everything that we have is on snowsports.org. We have a backlog of webinars, information, research data to help you make those decisions. And if anything, last comment, the opportunity to embrace and lean into change has never been greater.
Absolutely. There are a couple of questions that have come in. One is from Kelly Holme. I hope I'm saying your name right. Thank you for writing in, Kelly. Kelly's wondering how brands will connect to consumers with the loss of magazines like Powder, which was really hard to read about yesterday, and websites like On the Snow that target those snow sport consumers.
Yeah, that was a bummer yesterday. You hate to see that in the news, and I feel for all those that are affected. But it's not the first magazine to fold, and proof of concept is that there are consumers out there. There are highly passionate consumers that eat, breathe everything winter. On the Snow was a great portal for that. But we see in snowboundfest.com that will launch later this week a huge opportunity to connect with those consumers, share those stories, create good conversation, share content, video, product news, releases, anything that is remotely interesting to this consumer base. So I think there's a huge opportunity there. And I also think that this is, again, a great way to evolve the industry. As I'm sad for those books, there's just so much opportunity for us to share and learn and help grow this consumer base, as well as create original content and drive that right back to retail. So I see that as a way to
I do
keep
too.
moving
And I
forward.
have to add one thing to this, just because this is what I do all day. I also just have to say, like, Kelly, the same way that you search for a solution is how this new consumer and how your existing consumers will do that. So as you're looking at your brand and considering your consumer and where they get their news and information, that's where I'd go. And then also, as Nick was saying, that storytelling is truly something that specialty brands like all of us in winter sports own. It's part of our DNA, and that storytelling is definitely something that will create that emotional connection. So we have, I don't see any other questions that have come in, but I do want to just remind people that the Thursday newsletter has a pretty comprehensive specialty market specific overview on consumer behavior. In addition to everything that Nick has lined out that he and his team have created, that's something that they're working to provide. I believe it's every other week. And going into the holidays, that sentiment report will be, I think, super important, and it should tee up what we're going to be seeing in the early part of 2021 as well. So just keep an eye on the resources and know that we will be following up with a summary. We promise it'll be Cliff Notes version, not a 47-page document that will have key links for you to quickly access the points that Nick has brought up in this conversation. And I just want to say, as I always do, as I'm doing a town hall with you and your team, Nick, thank you for doing all you do. And it is amazing that you have stood at attention and been as nimble as you have this entire year. There just was never a dull moment where your team was resting, and I was right there to experience a lot of that. So I have firsthand experience. Thank you for all that you've done and the evolution that you're helping us go through. And I really appreciate all you're doing. And thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And thanks to the membership, thanks to the staff, thanks to the board of directors. We couldn't do it without your guidance and help. So there's a lot of other thank yous to go around, but we're all in this together, and we'll get through this as well.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kristin. Appreciate it.